Peace be upon you. Hello, everyone. My name is Hala Mustafa, and I am with the Muslim Advisory Council, AMAC. I am the program manager here in West Tennessee. I am here today to introduce to you a new program that we have. It's called Muslim Resource Services, MRS. MRS is dedicated to bringing resources and services that the community may know of or may not know of and do not know how to access. Either way, we have a dedicated hotline number and a webinar to help with that. Muslim Resource Services covers counseling, financial support, legal services, domestic abuse assistance, food pantry access for those that do not know how to access these services. You call the number, and basically the program is designed to bring resources and services to you. So there's two ways, through a confidential hotline number and through the webinar like we are having today. After I am done introducing to you MRS, Muslim Resource Services, we're going to dive into resources that are available to you. The MRS hotline number is 901-430-0333. Please save it in your contacts. You never know when you may need it, or when someone else that you know may need it. You never know if you have a friend, a sister, and so on and so forth. The hours, days and hours are Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. until 12:30 p.m. After hours, you can access MRS through email. You can also look up Muslim Resource Services on the AMAC website. And now that, and please have a pencil and paper ready. Write down questions that you may have, because at the end of this, we are going to have a question and answer session. Right now, I would like to introduce to you our first guest, which is Sam Williams with United Way. Sam grew up in a teeny town in Nebraska, and it's no surprise she seeks and builds community at every turn in Nashville, her home of 16 years. She has 2 middle school age children, a handy husband, cats, and a backyard of chickens. She holds a bachelor's in physics from Hastings College and a master's of theology studies from Vanderbilt Divinity School, neither of which are directly applicable to her current work, but ground her in a deep and abiding hope in both science and faith. At United Way of Greater Nashville, Sam is building a network to further the work of the Financial Empowerment Center, which offers free one-on-one financial counseling in partnership with the Mayor's Office. Sam?
Thanks so much for the introduction. I'm excited about you guys launching this new resource hotline. Like you said, you never know when you might need it or someone you know might need it. And you guys pulling all the resource together makes a huge difference for folks. So like she said, I'm Sam Williams. I'm the manager of the Nashville Financial Empowerment Center. I'm here today to talk about the work of the Financial Empowerment Center, both in Nashville and in Memphis. I've got colleagues in Memphis that also have a Financial Empowerment Center. So Financial Empowerment Center is a model based out of New York City where free one-on-one financial counseling is offered as a city service. And so it is a public service provided by a nonprofit. So, so in Nashville, it's a program of the Mayor's Office provided by United Way of Greater Nashville. We originally just served Davidson County. We currently serve everyone in the Greater Nashville region, regardless of income. So this is free one-on-one financial counseling, no matter who you are, how much you make, what kind of financial situation you're in. They're expert folks to walk through it with you. So in Nashville, it's Mayor's Office and United Way of Greater Nashville. In Memphis, it's Shelby County government and then the Rise Foundation. We'll put all the contact information in the chat. So you know, if you're in Memphis, you call this number, go to this website. If you're in Nashville, you call this number, go to this website. We are trying to build out across the state, and so I hope that we can get there eventually. Particularly with virtual counseling, I think we'll be able to reach a lot more places. Knoxville is interested, Jackson is interested, Chattanooga is interested in having FECs. So that's big picture. So FEC it's free one-on-one financial counseling. Like I said, it doesn't matter how much you make. If you are in chronic financial trouble, a crisis comes up, like you lose your job because of COVID, or if you're really pretty stable, but you want somebody to check your math, our counselors are trained to do all of that. They have seen anything and everything. It's a really personalized service. It's really individualized, and wherever you are, whatever work you want to put into it, and wherever you want to go, the counselor is there along the way to provide the expertise and the accountability. It's a very effective service as well. In Nashville, we've been doing this for 8 years. Memphis, I think, has been 2 years. But in our 8 years in Nashville, we've helped 8,600 clients with 24,000 financial counseling sessions. And because it's finances, it's very measurable. And so we have helped those folks reduce their debt by $16.5 million, increase their savings by $3 million. And that doesn't even capture the full economic impact, because people are raising their credit score, so they're getting a better interest rate on their car loan, lots of things. So we deal with everything. We work with making sure that people have safe and affordable banking services. We help people work on their savings, whether it's saving behaviors or actually like putting away this this paycheck's period worth of income. Full bank accounts, saving, either establishing credit or improving credit, and then reducing debt or reducing delinquent accounts. Let's see. We work with a lot of agencies, a lot of programs. I don't know if people on here are here kind of for themselves or here as representatives of other parts of the community, but I love to do partnerships. That's a big part of my job. We've worked with Sabina on some things around town. I'm happy to, start up any kind of relationship, and my counterpart, Karen in Memphis, is as well. So we can provide outreach materials, we can provide social media, blocks, flyers. If you have a community that you would like to share this information with, we're happy to provide all of that. Paula, have I hit the main points? I forgot you were going to ask me questions. Oh, you're muted. I can't hear you, Hala.
Thank you for that. I said, thank you, Samantha. It's okay. You covered everything, so that was great. Here's the way you can contact Sam and how you can make appointments, her number, all the information that was in the chat box. So while you guys are taking a minute here to gather that information, I would like to go ahead and introduce Hunter to you. Hunter Keene is the state director for Impact America. Hunter Keene is a native of the Memphis area, graduated from Mississippi State University with a double major in philosophy and marketing. He then attained an MA in religion and public engagement from Wake Forest University before returning to Memphis to work with Impact America. Hunter Keene has worked at Impact for 4 years and is looking forward to continuing to serve the Memphis community in the years to come. There we go. Hunter Keene, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So can you tell us a little, I'm so sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm going to try and screen share this PowerPoint without breaking everything.
Perfect.
All right, is that working? Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
Well, I'm here to talk about our Save First initiative. Thank you for that introduction. This is my 4th year working for Impact America. We are a nonprofit in the Memphis area. In our Memphis office, we have 2 major initiatives. One of those is Save First, and it is our VITA program, and I'm just going to talk a little bit more about that. What is Save First? We'll talk a little bit more about VITA specifically here in a bit, but just to give a brief overview, VITA programs they're funded through the IRS, and they're meant to extend services to underserved populations in the hardest to reach areas, both urban and rural. The intention being to increase the capacity for electronic filing, as that's much quicker than filing by mail. To heighten quality control, we undergo a standardized training that is built through the IRS and provided to us, enhance the volunteer training through that training program, and also improve the accuracy of the rate of returns prepared at volunteer sites, just making sure that when we're preparing taxes, we're doing it accurately and making sure the information that we send to the IRS is correct. At Impact America, our site coordinators are largely AmeriCorps members who are doing a year of service through AmeriCorps. We also have other volunteers at our Save First sites. Many of those volunteers are local college students, some graduate students, and others from different partnerships throughout Memphis. Mostly we have a lot of volunteers from Rhodes College, the University of Memphis, and typically we'll have more from St. Mary's as well as the Junior League of Memphis. Things have been a little different this past year, but we've still been thankful to have these partnerships and to continue to have virtual volunteers over the past year. Our tax sites, so these are all the tax sites we've been in since we came to Memphis in 2015. We have a lot of wonderful partners in the community that provide us spaces kind of spread out. That way we can try and serve as many people as we can, to have as many people in different parts of the city come in and get their taxes done at different locations. Some of those partners include the Binghamton Development Corporation, the Ed Rice Community Center, Orange Mound Community Center, 2 locations with Memphis Athletic Ministries at the Grizzly Center and MLK Prep, the Church Health location at the Crosstown Concourse, Soulsville Town Center, and Latino Memphis. And we couldn't do anything that we do without our wonderful partners, and we are so grateful to them. So what are some of the things we've done in Memphis since we arrived here in 2015? So since 2015, we've worked with over 300 volunteers, most of those coming from the local universities. We've prepared over 5,000 returns, and we've secured approximately $8 million in refunds for Memphis taxpayers and saved approximately $2 million in pay prepare fees on what you would see on those fees on average. Some notable experiences that the AmeriCorps members and myself have experienced doing taxes in Memphis. More times than we would like to, we catch cases of fraud and theft. A common example of that are people who will prepare other people's taxes and then just give them a cash payment that isn't even close to the amount of refund they were due, and then putting on their own direct deposit bank account information on the return. That way the IRS directly puts the money in the preparer's bank account, and the taxpayer sometimes isn't even aware of that. Largely what we do is we just mediate the communication between the IRS and taxpayers. People often ask me if I'm a math wizard because I do taxes, but really it is more about just being able to understand the IRS publications, because the IRS does not put anything in simple terms, and it's really just being able to communicate and kind of serve as a translator and clarify things between taxpayers and the IRS and solve issues that arise just because of that lack of clarity most of the time. We want to make sure that we're able to provide a free, accessible service. So any families making $57,000 or less on an annual basis can use our services entirely free of cost. And we just want to be more of an active part of the Memphis community. And we've experienced that over the past 5 years and looking forward to continue growing as part of the community here. Over the past year, we've had to do things a little differently, but we've wanted to make sure that we were able to continue providing the service throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. Normally we would have traditional tax sites where people can come in and we'll just prepare your taxes over the course of maybe an hour. Over the past year, we've implemented things called drop-off sites where we've had a lot of scanners, and we've been scanning people's documents and then conducting the interview over the phone and scheduling people to come pick up a completed return at a later date. We partnered with Code for America and getyourrefund.org to have a virtual option for tax preparation. And we also have access to a facilitated self-assessment, an FSA, which is essentially where we can provide a link to where anyone can have free access to do taxes on their own through TaxSlayer using our link. Current options for those still needing to file taxes. Unfortunately, with the original deadline having been April 15th and our AmeriCorps members ending their term of service at the end of April, our drop-off appointment slots have been filled up through our deadline, but we still have a few other options for those who need to file. The easiest one would be to use the facilitated self-assessment link. To access that, you just can go to our website at impactamerica.com/free-tax-prep. There'll be a button that says click here to receive a self-preparation link. You'll complete a short survey that essentially just asks for contact information and your email. You'll receive an email link, and you can use that link to access TaxSlayer for free. And these are just some images of what that would look like. The image on the left is what it would look like on our website, with that button at the bottom being where you would need to click. And then on the right is an example of the email you'll receive, and just that where it says, here's a self-prep link for you. If you click that link, that'll take you right into TaxSlayer, and you should be able to set up a free account. And then if that is not a good option for you, we also recommend using this resource provided by the IRS at irs.treasury.gov/free-tax-prep. This is their VITA locator tool where you'll be able to find other VITA programs in your area. And all of those should be able to offer free tax preparation, including our friends at the United Way, as well as you can see some of our sites down there in that list. And what opportunities are there for volunteer involvement with Save First and with Impact America? For those interested, we love having new Save First volunteers. It looks really good on a resume, and honestly, it's a more rewarding experience than I ever thought taxes would have been. It's a much more personal experience, and I highly recommend volunteering if you have the opportunity to do so. We take seasonal volunteers. In the fall, we'll do our other initiative, which is a vision screening initiative. We take volunteers for that, and we would love to have people volunteer during tax season. So that usually looks like between January and April. If you're interested in volunteering, you can go to that website. Also, if you'd like to be more involved, we're in the process of enrolling new AmeriCorps members for the next service year. That'll be a 1,200-hour service term beginning in August and ending in May or late April. And if you're interested in that, there's a link right there. And also, normally we'd love to have interns available, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, our internship opportunities haven't quite panned out in the way we had hoped to. We hope to have more internship opportunities in the near future, hopefully, but at this time, those are unavailable due to the pandemic. And thank you all so much for having me, for letting me share this, and I really appreciate being here, and I would be more than happy to answer any questions and provide any additional information that I could. Oh, I'm sorry, I believe you're on mute.
Thank you for reminding me again. Thank you, Hunter, for that. Here's Hunter Keen's information with Impact America. Please take a screenshot, write it down. While you guys are doing that, I would like to go ahead and introduce our next guest, M. Cashin, who is the Regional VITA Coordinator for United Way of Greater Nashville. She will be speaking about the VITA program. Sorry about that. M. Cashin is from South Korean and immigrated to the US as a child in 1974. She grew up in North Carolina, but has lived in New Jersey and in California before moving to Brentwood, Tennessee in 2006. She is married and has 2 teenage daughters. M has been with United Way since 2013 and has been involved with the VITA program since it first started. M. Cashin, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me here. And actually, Hunter did a really good job of covering VITA and the free tax prep. So I'm going to kind of dive a little bit deeper in terms of if any of the people actually want to get their taxes, want to tell you what do you need to bring when you want to get your taxes done, because we do have a list of required documents. So here, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, which will have the list of documents here. And this is pretty standard with pretty much any type of VITA sites. Also, after I do this, I'm going to cover what the options are in Middle Tennessee, like in the Nashville area for anybody interested. And I think I saw Yvonne Howard, she's with United Way of Mid-South. I think she's in this meeting and maybe she can cover some of the United Way VITA sites in Memphis. So, if you want to go to any type of free tax prep place, whether it's virtual or in person or drop off, one of the requirements that we do have is to see your Social Security card, and that is an IRS requirement. And this is basically to prevent identity theft. And so we do request that everybody bring a Social Security card for everybody on the tax return, including dependents. We also need photo IDs, driver's license, passports for the husband and spouse too, if you're married filing jointly. In most cases, both the spouses should be present. This is Hunter touched on it. It's kind of a different year for all of us. We're having to kind of change the way we're doing things, and most times we often do require the husband and spouse to be present because there is a form that needs to be signed by both parties. So that is usually that requirement. Then, of course, you'll need to bring all your tax documents, your W-2s, 1099 NECs, 1099Ks for self-employed folks. Even if you're self-employed, but you don't receive a 1099, you still need to bring your income and all your expenses. And preferably, I think everybody who is in the tax world would agree, please don't bring your receipts because we don't have the time to add up your receipts. So please have everything summarized when you come to one of our services. Here it is. And then this document here, which maybe Holly, you might be able to share later. I think I did send you the document for this, but it does have links to different resources out there. So if you're like an Uber or Lyft driver, there's a great website called Rideshare Tax Help that has a lot of good guides on how to file taxes if you are one of the on-demand drivers. Proof of expenses, usually this involves folks who might be itemizing. That would include mortgage interest, property taxes, also medical expenses, charitable donations. One new thing for the 2020 tax year is that you actually can deduct up to $300 of cash donations to charitable organizations without itemizing. So if you give any cash donations to charity, please bring your receipts, and that can be an extra deduction off your taxes. While health insurance is no longer required, if you did have health insurance through the marketplace, some people know it as Obamacare, you would receive a Form 1095A, and that would be required to bring to your taxes. And then the other thing that's also new for this year the information that we need in order to complete an accurate tax return is we need to know the first and second stimulus amount. The first stimulus was received in 2020, usually around May, the summer of. It was $1,200 for adults and $500 for dependents under the age of 17. The second stimulus started coming out in January of 2021. Even if you did not receive it until 2021, it is reported on your 2020 tax return. And that one was $600 a person. And then I know a lot of people have been asking about the third stimulus. That information will not go on your 2020 tax return. Most likely it will go on your 2021 return. And then we always recommend bringing your bank information for direct deposit of refunds. And even if you do owe, we also recommend doing direct debit. As we all know, the pandemic affected everybody, including the IRS, and they're really behind on lots of things. And so the direct debit would be sure to make sure that you get your payments to the IRS on time. We wouldn't want to get anybody getting letters from the IRS saying they're accruing interest because they hadn't paid, even if you had paid on time, because it was stuck in the mail somewhere. So, and then also it is helpful to bring the prior year's tax return. It's not required, but sometimes there's oftentimes questions that come up that can be answered just by looking at the prior year tax return. And then I'm going to go over the things that are out of scope for us. Now, each coalition, each sites can vary on this. Our income limit is 66,000 or less. Some sites are less than that. They go by the earned income tax credit limit of 57,000. So you kind of need to know, depending on where you go to get service, what their criteria is for this type of service they'll provide. But pretty much in general, no, we don't do rental income because it usually requires a special type of certification. And so, you know, that's again, something we usually don't do is rental income, farm income. Ministers are also out of scope for our VITA program. If you're self-employed, we're able to do most self-employed income, but we aren't allowed to do net losses, total expenses over $35,000. If you have inventory, also business use of home, employee expenses, and hobby or not-for-profit. And then for vehicle expenses, we only do mileage. We don't do, you know, wear and tear or repairs. We only use the standard mileage rate. And then also some other things that we're not able to do. There's certain types of cancellation of debts, sale of home used for business purposes, or rental property, and adoption expenses. So those are the things that we recommend that you have. And this is also on our website. You'll probably find it on everybody's website, whether it's Impact America or United Way of Mid-South or United Way of Greater Nashville. Pretty much everyone will have a list of what you should bring with you. And then I did want to also talk about the resources that are available in Middle Tennessee. We do have our website, United Way of Greater Nashville, that has a unitedwayfilefree.org, and we have 8 locations. As Hunter mentioned, like I think a lot of his are closing April 15th. Some of ours are closing April 15th. We have a few sites that did go ahead and decide to extend through May 17th. So we do still have some appointments available in the Greater Nashville area. If you go to our website, you'll see these book now buttons where you can make an appointment yourself online. And then Hunter shared another good resources, which is the IRS website, which also I was going to show that too, which you can go to the irs.gov website and put in your zip code and how many miles, and it'll bring up a list. Another resource also is it's the AARP. They are also doing drop-off. And if you go to the tax aid site locator, you could put in your zip code and the miles, and you can find different drop-off sites. And I think this does cover the entire, this tax aid locator does cover the entire country. So it would include all parts of Tennessee. And then of course, we too are also partnering with Get Your Refund, which Hunter mentioned, which is a partnership with Code for America, which is a virtual option. The website for that is getyourrefund.org. And I'll just explain this process a little bit. You know, you would just click Get Started, file taxes with help. You'll enter, you know, what years you need help. We can do up to 4 years. You can also, then, you know, these are the criteria where we talked about that earlier about if your income's below 66,000, farm or rental. And also you'll start putting in your name, your zip code, your address. It's going to ask you questions about your tax situation, you know, whether you're married, you know, what kind of income you have. And then after you've answered all those questions, then it's going to ask you to start taking pictures of your documents. And we actually recommend people do it on a smartphone because it's actually the easiest way to use the built-in camera on your phone to take pictures of your documents and send to us. So if anybody is, and I think we've had pretty good success. I think we've done through the Middle Tennessee, we've done, I think, nearly 2,000 tax returns through our Get Your Refund partnership. So it's been quite successful. And then also Hunter mentioned the FSA. United Way also has an FSA, which is through myfreetaxes.com, which is also using the TaxSlayer FSA. And you would just click with assistance, and then they'll prompt you to, you know, give your email address, and you'll be provided a link to access the free software. But this is the do-it-yourself option here. So,
Cashin,
gonna
I wanted to
let-
ask you a question. For those that wanted to try to do it themselves, if they make a mistake, for example, how can they correct it?
oh, you mean like in the taxes itself, like if they want to use the do it yourself
Yes.
option? Well, there is see, there's a toll-free number. So if,
Mhm.
you know, before you do anything, if you have any questions, you can call that number between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. You know, and it could be tax-related questions. And even if you've done it and you find a mistake afterwards, you can always do an amendment. That's also an option. Does
And
that
how
mean
would a person, and how would a person go about doing that?
doing the
The amendment.
the amendment? Okay. So usually what you would do is, you know, once you go through, if you use My Free Taxes or Hunter's, the FSA, you create an account. And so basically you have access to your tax document anytime by logging in. And you should, I believe it should allow you to do amendments and match. And most of these softwares do walk you through, you know, on what to do. I don't have I wish I could pull it up and show you, but I don't
No,
have
that's
that.
fine because I know that's you know, most people's fear is about doing their taxes themselves is, okay, how about if I make a mistake? You know, what do I do next? So, yeah. So thank you, Cashin, so much.
I was gonna
This
say,
is, all-
I'm sorry, Paula.
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say,
Go ahead.
if Yvonne is still on here, I don't know if she wants to talk a little bit about the VITA options available in Memphis through the United Way of Mid-South.
Well, thank you. Excuse me. You, you and Hunter covered all of the requirements, some of the requirements that United Way of the Mid-South has for tax preparation. I would like to say that we are using a drop-off pickup process this year. No appointments are necessary. We are also partnering with My Free Taxes and the Get Your Refund, which is offered through the Internal Revenue Service with Code for America. The majority of our sites will close April the 15th, but we will keep 3 of our super sites open. These super sites provide service 30 hours per week, and they will remain open until April the 29th. There are May 18th, we will begin a 6-week period of extended tax prep. During the extended tax prep, we will prepare 2020 returns, prior years, and amended returns from May 18th until June 26th. And those 3 locations are in Memphis at the Southland Mall, the United Way Plaza, and at the Raleigh Library in the Raleigh area. And you all have covered mostly everything, but we also operate 4 mobile tax preparation sites. With the mobiles, we send preparers to various organizations and locations to prepare tax returns. But those mobiles will also cease operating on April the 15th. So
Thank you for that. And
all
feel
that I
free,
have.
I'm sorry, feel free to put any and all of this in the chat as well for people to have.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions? Please feel free to unmute yourself to ask any questions.
An additional comment, a couple things I forgot about financial empowerment center counseling. We have a connection with a partnership with Conexión Americas that provides all of our counseling in Spanish, and we use a language line for the remainder of our counseling. so that we can access and do counseling in any language. And I also should have said, we're all virtual right now. All of our counseling is happening over the phone or on Zoom. It's worked really well for a lot of clients. It reduces the transportation barrier, and our counselors like it as well. Just wanted to make sure that I mentioned those things. Thanks again for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. I'm just replaying the screens for everyone to screenshot, get all the information that they need. And since no one has any questions, I would like to thank you all for being here and coming. This was a valuable information, and I'm hoping, you know, the community puts it into good use. So thank you all for coming. And thank you all for being here. Okay.